Thank you for your attendance today at the February 2024 meeting of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. Please join us while we for the invocation and pledge led by Commissioner Stan Butt.
Let's all stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Our God and Father, we thank Thee for this day, for the privilege that we have to come together to discuss management of the wildlife of our wonderful state. Father, as we do so with this privilege, help us to always remember those who are less fortunate than we, who are struggling with life. Father, we pray for them. Father, we're thankful for the blessings that we enjoy and help us never take them for granted. Bless us as we go about the business of this commission. Watch over and care for us. In Christ's most holy name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Butt. I'd like to recognize the visitors we have here today. Keith Haywood, Wildlife Addiction, yeah. Keith, there we go. Anthony Landers, Tennessee Outdoors. Hey, Anthony, thanks for coming. Roger McMullen, Wildlife Addiction. Eli Mandel. Joe and Kathy Davenport. Thank you. Beth Davenport. Beth. Fred Moody. Always good to have Fred. Chris, help me with that. With Wildcast? Chris Hennessy. Welcome, Chris. Glenn Daniels with F&A Budget. William Nolan with F&A Budget. Carol Aiken. Definitely Jeff's better half, for sure. And David Thurman, F&A Director of Budget. Thank you all for joining us. Christina Kennedy with Tennessee Farm Bureau. Ron Crabtree. It's always good to have you here, Ron. And Rhedona Rose. Thank you all for coming. Miss Mary, will you please call the roll? Here.
Jimmy Granbery.
Here.
Monty Blue.
Here.
Stan Butt.
Here.
Wally Childress.
Here.
Bill Cox.
Here.
Chip Saltzman.
Here.
Hank Wright.
Here.
Brad Box.
Here.
Rhonda Moody. Here. Kent Woods.
Here for the last time.
Greg Davenport.
Here.
Tommy Woods.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Miss Mary. Commissioners, you've previously been provided a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
So moved, Commissioner Butt. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second for Commissioner Granbery. Minutes approved. Commissioners, are there any announcements or points of privilege before we get started? All right, hearing none. Director Maxedon, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members of the commission. And good morning. We got so many distinguished guests in here today. It's good to have everybody. Always good to have the chair of the finance committee. It's a good day to ask for money if we might need anything. But welcome, David. Appreciate you coming over today. I want to start by congratulating Mr. Jason Henegar. Jason, you mind raising your hand for us? Jason was recently promoted to serve as chief of the Fisheries division. Jason's been with the agency for 15 years and started out as a Rivers and Streams program coordinator. He then moved up to assistant chief in the division and now has rightly earned his new role in this. He's earned his new role as leader of the Fisheries division. We know that he's going to do a great job, and Jason, we're proud to have you in this role. Look forward to seeing you serve there. We're going to shift gears now from agency leadership to some of our newest hires because I want to highlight a current class of cadets. Scott, if you'll put a few pictures up there on the board as I talk, I'd appreciate that. So right now we have 13 new wildlife officers and 6 wildlife manager cadets that are going through the Tennessee Wildlife Officer Training Academy. And we're incredibly proud of how smart and hardworking and committed they are to becoming officers. As you know, we had a major winter storm event that swept through the state last month, and the cadets arrived at the academy just before it hit. Unfortunately, we had a leak in the main water line. And it was all hands on deck to get the water line fixed during the storm. Really proud of our leadership staff. Some of them are in the back as they stepped up to fix that main water line. As you can see on the far left of the screen there, a pretty messy deal to have to work on, and you can imagine how cold that their hands were to get the cadets going. But thank you, leadership staff, for what you did getting that water line running and being able to get them back on cue there. While all of that was going on, the cadets remained dedicated and positive. As you could see them making a few snow angels there in the snow. I want to talk about a few visitors that the cadets recently had at the academy. Luckily, it was in better weather whenever they came last week. But Mr. Patrick Frog, he's the executive director of the Tennessee Public Defenders Conference and instructor at the Nashville School of Law. And, sir, we just want to thank you for taking time to lecture on constitutional law to our cadets. Stephanie Reavers, Dawn Jordan, Megan Murphy, Pico Jenkins, and Chad Cunningham from the Tennessee Attorney General's office. They also lectured at the academy, and they're with the Civil Law Division. And then last was Assistant District Attorney Steve Strain from the 12th Judicial District. He joined us as well. So thank you to all those folks that were able to help out, come in and teach our cadets about law. Thank you so much for that. They brought a huge wealth of knowledge. And again, we're just grateful that they come in during that training portion. We also wrapped up duck season. Scott, if you'll kind of shift over maybe to some of our duck photos as I go through this, with some really great youth and veteran and military hunts. We're proud to support a group called Special Ops Excursions, a nonprofit organization that takes active duty special ops members and their families hunting. So as you can see, they recently took 8 military members and their families for a weekend duck hunt across West Tennessee and had a successful time. So on behalf of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, we want to say thank you to all of our veterans, all of our active duty service members and military members, and we're glad to have many of these folks as hunters and anglers. Always good to see them get out. I'd also like to recognize some of the work that our commissioners performed to introduce hunting to young people. If you'll switch over there, we got several commissioners, as you can see in here. Commissioner Monty Ballou there in the center. On the far left was Commissioner Childress's group, and on the far right was Commissioner Brad Box's group. We also have some, actually, I think the one on the left may have been Kent Woods' group, if I remember right. I get confused on the blinds there. But thank you, commissioners, for actually helping promote R3. We all know what R3 stands for by now: recruitment, retention, and reactivation of hunters. And it's so important to be able to get these youth outdoors. Thank you for your efforts in getting them out. They had a lot of successful hunts and a lot of memories that were made with getting the youth outdoors. So thank you for doing that. I'm going to have a little bit more to say here a little bit later, Mr. Chairman, but that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Director Maxedon. Moving on to our agenda, we have a special honor to award today. Ms. Rhedona Rose, it's truly an honor having you with us today. Congratulations on your recent retirement from Tennessee Farm Bureau as our esteemed Executive Vice President. Your leadership's been invaluable, and we deeply appreciate your dedication to the Tennessee Farm Bureau. And the TWRA values our relationship with Farm Bureau very much. Thanks again for joining us. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Director Maxedon again.
All right. Well, commissioners, today, as Chairman said, we're happy to recognize Ms. Rhedona Rose, Executive Vice President of Farm Bureau, retired Executive Director of Farm Bureau. As a state agency, we're tasked with managing public and wildlife, but here in Tennessee, the majority of our lands are owned by private landowners. That makes it critical for us to work closely with landowners and farmers on issues that we jointly benefit from. If we go back in history, TWRA and Farm Bureau probably haven't always had the best relationship ever with Ms. Rhedona. But Ms. Rhedona and former TWRA Executive Director Ed Carter put that effort in to rebuild that relationship and really get us moving in a positive direction. Today, we've been blessed to have Farm Bureau as an ally on countless legislative and policy issues, and we value this partnership very much with farmers who are implementing wildlife conservation efforts on the farm. During my time working with Ms. Rhedona, it's been clear, Ms. Rhedona, how valuable her leadership is And it's safe to say that Brian Wright's going to come in, I know, and actually fill those shoes and do just as good a job as Miss Rhedona. Those are going to be some very big shoes to fill, Miss Rhedona, but Brian will be able to do that, hopefully. We're lucky to have someone special, on a member of our commission, on our ex officio board, a deputy commissioner of agriculture, Mr. Jeff Aiken. And Miss Rhedona, we've asked Mr. Jeff to come up and read a resolution and present you with that award. Thank you so much.
I would say that if most of us think about it, there has been individuals throughout our lives that have had a special impact. And I want to thank the director and the chairman for giving me an opportunity to read this resolution to a lady that's been very positive in my life. On behalf of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission, a resolution to honor and commend Rhedona Rose for her years of supportive agriculture, natural resources, and private landowners. Rhedona hails from Smith County, where she cultivated a love of agriculture and ag education by actively participating in youth leadership organizations, including Tennessee 4-H and Tennessee FFA Association. And after completing high school, Rhedona attended Tennessee Tech University to major in agriculture education before furthering her education with a master's degree from Texas A&M University. Nobody's perfect. Rhedona began her career with the Tennessee Farm Bureau in 1986 as an intern in the information department before rising through the ranks of the public policy division. And through hard work and dedication to the organization, she was named director and chief lobbyist in 1995 to serve Tennessee Farm Bureau members by advancing policy and legislation to protect farmers from damaging legislation and to promote initiatives to improve the livelihoods and success of agriculturalists. And history was made when Rhedona was rightly chosen as the first female to lead the Tennessee Farm Bureau as executive vice president and chief administrative officer, setting an example of leadership, grace, and work ethic for Tennessee Farm Bureau staff, Federation members, and all those members of the public that she interacted with. And she expertly led the Farm Bureau and Tennessee agriculture through both periods of recession and abundance to ensure the success of family farms of all natures, further demonstrating the strength of her resolve and intelligence. And institutes of higher learning and their students have greatly benefited from Rhedona's wisdom and guidance during her service on the University of Tennessee Board of Trustees and the Tennessee Tech University Board of Trustees. And throughout her life, Rhedona has been a stalwart champion of youth and agriculture, but given of her time and talents to serve in leadership roles, offer steady guidance on numerous boards and committees. And Rhedona has been a faithful and true mentor and role model for countless young women in agriculture and state politics who aspire to follow in the footsteps of an industry trailblazer such as Rhedona. And after 37 years of dedication to the Tennessee Farm Bureau in this great state, Rhedona has undoubtedly earned a peaceful and relaxing retirement. And it's fitting for this commission to permanently commemorate the accomplishments of those sterling individuals who worked tirelessly to benefit Tennessee with the greatest integrity and dedication. So therefore, be it resolved that the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission recognizes and honors the great contributions of Rhedona Rose that she has made so far in her life and the legacy that she has already left for the benefit of all Tennesseans for those contributions and profoundly significant. And be it further resolved that we recognize Rhedona Rose and the respect that she has earned from this commission, state lawmakers, Tennessee agriculture, and American agriculture. It is therefore resolved on this, the 16th day of February, 2024. Ms. Rose, would you come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Aiken, my former boss. Thank you. And great guy to work with. Great guy to work. You all, thank you. I'm honored and I'm humbled, and I appreciate that very, very much. So the recognition today. You know, the challenges that we face are very, very similar. We are so connected in our worlds, and we can't deny that. And in fact, we need to embrace that. And Commissioner Childers, you know that as well as anybody of the challenges that we face. But let me start by saying this about saying thank you. And Director Maxedon, you talked about how that we hadn't always gotten along, and I'm reminded of I think it was Abraham Lincoln that said, "I don't like that man. I need to get to know him better." Relationships are key, and getting to know folks and talking and having conversations. And Mr. Aiken and I both know this. The grassroots farmer members, when they would talk about Wildlife Commission, they respected and loved working with their local wildlife officer. And there's a lot to learn from that, from the grassroots level up. And we felt like that's important, that we do it all the way up, keeping those relationships and those communications going. And that's important, keeping the relationships. But the challenges are very, very similar. You know, I think about one of the main ones is land. When you think about the fragmentation and the loss of land in this state, and both of our industries and worlds depend on the land so much. Mr. Thurman, I'm glad to see you here today, because the economic challenges that both of our worlds face are also very, very real. And something that we've got to put some thought into how to deal with some of those many economic challenges that we're facing. And I think we can do that very much so in working together. But I think it's also important that we think about the future, and believing in the 4-H, believing in the FFA, believing in the youth. And I've got to commend you all, because you all make an investment in 4-H and FFA. You were making an investment in Emily Buck when she was still in high school, and now she's here today because of that investment in youth. And that's important to move those young folks forward. But you also make the investment in our research, our land grant university, the Tennessee Tech, and I'm wearing my purple pride today, and all the work that you all do with Tennessee Tech, because you all know that it's important to have valuable research and sound science and lifelong learning. And with all of those together, we will succeed. So thank you all very much. I'm humbled, and I appreciate it, and I value friendship. Thank you.
Ms. Rose, we appreciate you, and thank you coming for today. And that was a wonderful talk. Before we bring you up for pictures, commissioners, we need to vote to make the resolution an action of the commission. Commissioners, any comments on Mr. Rose's resolution? Anyone? Commissioner Saltman.
I would say this. I've known Rhedona since 92. I've always been a little afraid of her. So I will definitely be voting yes on this because I'm afraid of her. But I will tell you this, as somebody that's been on many opposite sides with her, being on the sides with her, she's somebody that you want advocating. As you saw, she is smart. She's got great passion. This is one of the few people that in this business that everybody agrees on that she is a jewel for our state. Now, she's retiring. So to quote my father, the good news is a has-been. But it's better than it's better than being never was. So you were a great person for our state, and it's an honor to do this with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Saltman. Anyone else?
Oh, I just want to say I hadn't known her since 1992, Chip, but I have known her for about 20 years and worked with her on a number of issues. And I tell you, I've always known her to conduct herself with the utmost professionalism. Also, I wouldn't actually be saying all this if I'd known you went to Texas A&M, but anyway. But But most people in this room know that the Tennessee Farm Bureau is the largest farm bureau in the country. And she has worked really hard for the ag community in Tennessee. And I guess I want to move to pass this.
All right, there's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Butt. Wait, Commissioner Childers would like to say a word.
Hey, I've been a lifetime Farm Bureau member. I'm 58 years old, and they've made my life easy. And as a farmer and on this commission, it's good we all work together. And she's made my life easier by her leadership, and I'm sure they'll keep on. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Childers. Commissioner Yost.
Yes, thank you. It's uncommon for me to be at a loss of words, but I'm at it. I'm at that point right now. So I'll just say thank you to the investment in me and my growth and our family's farm. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Yost. Anyone else?
One quick word.
Commissioner Butt.
Well, I may have known Rhedona longer than most of you since 1985, but now I knew her boss before she stepped up to the Capitol. Buford Redden was the lobbyist for the Farm Bureau. So through the years, we've worked on a lot of projects, and I appreciate her influence and her direction and her guidance. And if you want to know anything from the Capitol standpoint or from the lobbyists who deal with her, then you would know she's one of the most respected ladies that ever walked the halls. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Butt. Anyone else? All right. The chair has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. We'll take a short break for pictures, about 5 minutes. We'll be back. Thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to step on the comments.
Huh?
I didn't mean to step on your comments.
You didn't step on my.
Through constant evaluations through our spring electrofishing surveys, we have creel programs and talk to anglers and document their catches, and we get socioeconomics from all those kind of things. We do different kinds of netting, seining, and just engaging with all that and then pouring over that data and looking at it comparatively, 10, 20 years and seeing kind of where things are going. And a big challenge in going back to the bass, what's really leading management decisions with that stocking program are genetic tests. So we collect fish and we can age them. We know what size obviously that fish is, and we take a fin clip and send it off, and we get a genetic composite back of that fish. So we'll be able to tell this composite of fish, a F1, a pure northern, pure Florida, or some convoluted of all that. This is our best growing fish. So that's what we want to be tailoring that place to put in it or try to grow or whatever, because we know that's the best product.
The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today, and I am in the woods. Well, I feel like I'm in the woods. I got a bear standing over my shoulder here. We're at Region 3, the Region 3 office here in Crossville, Tennessee, and happy to be here. Mimi Barnes is helping me co-host and invited us over. Thanks for that.
Yeah, welcome to the region.
Yeah, and we got Mr. Mike Jolly. He's our guest today. We're going to be talking Chickamauga. So I'm excited. Good to be here with you.
Thank you.
Ears just perked up. Chickamauga.
Yeah, it's a fun lake, and it's growing some big fish and a lot of fish. So we're going to talk about it today. But the bear, I got to reference the bear one more time. It was the first bear killed
on the plateau in 50 years.
Okay.
Donated by Mr. Wendell Friels. So, Mr. Friels, if you're listening, thank you so much for the donation. A lot of people come in, have their photo taken with it.
Yeah. 428 pounds.
428-pound black bear. First killed on the plateau in 50 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary having it hanging over my shoulder here, but
He'll keep you
I'll
straight
just
and
keep
narrow.
talking and keep looking the other direction. Well, we're on the plateau. We're up here, so let's talk about some radio stations from Cookville. We appreciate our radio partners, WUCT Power 94.1 News Talk. We appreciate those guys and gals out there running the show. We appreciate all our radio partners for highlighting Wildcast on their stations, and I hope our hunters and anglers and wildlife watchers out there enjoy the show on those stations. Appreciate them for running it. If you don't follow us on social media, follow us out there. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Find us just about anywhere. So now on Carbon TV. I don't want to forget that Carbon TV. You can download that on your smart TV. You can go to their website, but you can now watch Wildcast on Carbon TV.
Yeah,
so
great.
Very cool. Well, Mike, thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mike.
We're invading your space today. But
In a good way.
But you've been on the show, I don't know, 2-3 times maybe now. But let's remind folks who you are and what you do for the agency and kind of how you grew up.
Thank you. Mike Jolly, of course, and Region 3 Reservoirs Manager. And I've been in the reservoir crew for 30 years this year, actually.
30 years? You're not going to leave us, are you?
No, I hope not. And started out as a part-time technician. That allowed me to finish my schooling at Tennessee Tech. I got my wildlife fisheries degree there. So really, it's been watching things grow and develop over time. All the reservoirs, which in Region 3, we have 9 reservoirs.
No small task.
Yeah, and 150,000 acres of water, and they're very individual too, and require individual management. And got a really good reservoir crew too. That of course makes all that possible.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So you grew up fishing and hunting, didn't you?
I did. I grew up
Oh,
on Watts Bar Reservoir, and a very avid hunter and fisherman. In the springtime, I may have been known to lay out of school and go fishing a time or two when the
Or
weather looked
turkey
good, or turkey
Or
hunting,
deer
or deer hunting. Yeah, so really grew up with that, and I've always had a love and a passion for that, and I guess it's why it really makes this not feel like a job. It's able to give back to something that you have so much respect for and passion for. It's exciting always. So.
Yeah. And you get that love from your dad, I'm sure. And we talk about your dad a lot. He shared that passion and got you going.
He did. He had me on his hip at an early age, and we were stream fishing pretty much every weekend, and of course in the deer woods. And he's a very good woodsman, very avid hunter, and taught me the basics and beyond for sure. And I've never let go of it, and that love's just developed through that. So
Yeah. It's one thing I love about the Region 3 employees and all TWRA employees, that passion for wildlife. Say walking in every day, everybody loves what I love.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. That's the reason we're here.
Yeah.
Well, how do you want to get started today, Mimi?
Let's hear about Chickamauga. There's
right.
so much. It's always in the top 10 reservoirs
it
in the
is.
nation.
Yeah.
No pressure.
In
No
Tennessee.
pressure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it is a very unique fishery, and it's nationally acclaimed, and mostly for bass fishing.
Yeah.
If you wanted to know what it's mostly known for, it is bass fishing.
These guys right here. Right on the
Yeah,
table.
this right here. and it goes back several decades. In the 80s, 1986, Bassmaster Classic first came to Chickamauga, and it was the first time they had cameras in their boats. There were a lot of fish caught, but there wasn't any real quality heavy fish caught. But that's changed. And a lot of that's changed because of a Florida largemouth bass stocking program that we implemented in the year 2000. And we've seen great results out of that. In 2015, there was a new record largemouth, 15 pounds, 3 ounces, caught by Gabe Keene. And that broke a 60-plus-year-old record.
Okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Granbery as Chair of the Ad Hoc Committee for the announcement of the Legacy Award.
No, I'm in.
Thank you, Chairman Woods, for the opportunity to chair this committee along with Commissioner Moody and Butt. We talked extensively about this award. Thank you to former Commissioner Sanders for creating the Legacy Award in 2021 to recognize those who demonstrate a commitment to hunting and fishing and other outdoor lifestyles in Tennessee. So we celebrate 75 years of TWRA's rich history and many accomplishments. I'm honored to recognize the nominees of this year's award. The dies, we all know, are a fixture at our TWRA meetings. I'm sorry, of course, they're not here today, but they're normally never miss. So we allow them one meeting a year to miss. And Commissioner Sanders, who started this award, who has a radio show in the Chattanooga area and has been a fixture in the hunting and fishing world with a lot of outdoor education that he's performed over the years. And congratulations to this year's winner, Anthony Landrum. Anthony is a well-known figure in Tennessee outdoors. He started hunting and fishing alongside his father at the age of 5, actually. His father taught him a lot about the outdoors and conservation, which is important to this agency. He even learned how to raise turkeys and peacocks, which has benefited many zoos across the country. In 2015, along with a friend, Anthony started Hunting for Kids, which is now called the Brad Denning Memorial Bicycle Fund. Through auctions of hunting and fishing trips, they have raised enough money to donate more than 2,600 bikes to 50 schools in 7 states. They are also working towards 10 lifetime licenses a year to deserving youth through their efforts of hunting auction trips. These are just a few of many ways Anthony gives back to this wonderful state and those in need. But most people know Anthony for his outdoor show, Tennessee Outdoors. Working closely, did I just turn the thing off? Sorry. We're working closely with TWRA. He puts a great deal of effort into providing accurate information to the public and has an impressive viewership of over 1.5 million people. And in this age of social media, his efforts are critical to ensure the facts are properly communicated. His hours of review of our hunting and fishing guides also proves to be a great asset for the agency. Anthony, we thank you for your efforts to support our agency and commission in his efforts, and we are proud to award you the 2024 TWRA Legacy Award. If you'd come forward, please.
Yeah, I would. I don't really know where to start. I'll tell you, it's been a long journey. It's kind of funny in a way. My dad passed away 15 years ago. He would be 90 today. It's his birthday. And, you know, he's the one that got me into hunting and fishing all the time. But my mom, which, you know, I probably shouldn't say this in public, but when I was in junior high and high school, I mean, I always made good grades. I loved to hunt fish my whole life. So, and so did a lot of my buddies. So I just go in there after breakfast. I said, Mom, I'm not going to school today. We're going hunting or fishing. And she would let me go. Now, my brothers and sisters, they couldn't get away with it, but I could. And I can remember when I was 6 years old, I was at Webster Sporting Goods there in Bolivar, Tennessee. And I saw a white-tailed deer brought in that still had an original red ear tag in it. I'll never forget that. And I thought that was so cool. So when I was 8, my dad, he built me a 6-foot ladder stand. I crawled up in it. He'd hand me a 308 bolt action. Of course, back then, I was talking to Bill Cox yesterday, you know, it was preached to us, you better make sure if you shoot something, it's got antlers on it because they'll take our truck, our guns, and we won't have nothing, you know. So, and I crawled up in that stand. He'd hand me my gun. He'd walk off, and I'll never forget the first critter I ever saw was a red fox. I thought I was going to shake out of that stand. It scared me so bad. I'm just 8 years old, you know, and he hunted a quarter mile on down through the woods. But I finally killed my first deer at 14. But a good story that taught me how to always keep up with the rules and regulations. When I was about 12 and 13 years old, we used to ride our bicycles down to a little slough off the Hatchie River there out just north of Bolivar. I didn't know you couldn't shoot ducks after the sun went down. You know, we'd ride our bikes down there. So about the fourth day we come out, the landowner, he stopped us. He said, "Aren't y'all afraid y'all gonna get in trouble?" And we said, "What for? We don't have over the limit of ducks." He said, "No, but you shot them to a plumb dart." You know, we didn't know. Well, I played baseball a lot with Leo Bishop. I don't know if some of y'all may remember Mr. Leo. He was the game warden in Hardeman County. Well, he also umpired Babe Ruth baseball. So when I remember when I was 13, and I hit the ball and I got on first base, and he was umpire at first, and he leaned over there and they said, "Anthony, kill any ducks?" I said, "Yes, sir, we killed a few." He said, "You know, duck season's over now." "Yeah, I know. I hate it." He said, "Remember, next year it closes at sunset. You don't get to shoot them." You know, I guess he done figured out it was us, but because he was at the boat ramp waiting on everybody. We was riding our bikes. We lived right over by the school. But, you know, this means a lot to me. And I mean, I've watched, you know, I mean, I killed my first turkey in '86, and just to see where all the state and all the animals and seasons have gone. I can remember we used to kill 10 or 11 bucks a year. You know, now it's just, you know, 2 and 3, but I just love it. You know, I tell everybody my dad taught me how to fish, but Bill Dance, this is an honor because I know Bill won this a couple years ago, I think. And I was lucky enough that Bill's wife lived caddy corner across the block. Her parents lived right there, just one house in between us. So when I was a kid, I'd go over there and Bill Dance would be there. And of course, we'd get to meet him. Of course, first 2 years, we didn't know who he was. His son told us his name was William George. We didn't know it was William George Dance. But then he started taking us fishing and crappie fishing. And I mean, I love crappie fishing. I mean, I probably average 4,000 or 5,000 a year right now. And a lot of times when he's got to wants to take somebody special fishing, he'll call me and he'll say, "Hey, we need to go fishing, find a fish. I got to take somebody fishing," you know. And so we have a good time together. Of course, now a lot of times, if you ever fish with Bill, he'll want you to show y'all your secret spots, but he sure don't want to come up with his too good. That's for sure. But with that being said, I mean, I appreciate everybody on the commission. I mean, Brad, appreciate you. Your wife, Angie Box, you know, I miss talking to Angie. We talked a lot because she would call me a lot. I mean, because doing what I do with the show, and like I know my buddy Keith Haywood sitting out here, he was a host of the show with us. But I mean, a lot of people reach out to us, and you just wouldn't believe it, you know. And the things, and which I relay it to the commission, to Director Maxedon, we talk a lot. And I mean, it's pretty open door policy. I mean, anytime I ever called him, he's called me back. Or any of the commissioners that I talked to, several of y'all been on their show. And, but I just appreciate it. This means a lot from the bottom of my heart. Thanks a lot. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Anthony. We appreciate you coming today. Thank you, Legacy Award Committee, for your hard work. Commissioners, anyone have any comments before we make this official? Any commissioners have any comments? All right, hearing none. You've heard the recommendation. All in favor of awarding the Legacy Award to Anthony Landers, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, I'll recognize the agency's general counsel to the podium, Torrey Grimes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a presentation for this because it's relatively quick. But before you've been sent a repealing proclamation to repeal the Alvin C. York WMA. If you recall, the commission actually established that in conjunction with the Department of Education, the state's Department of Education for that 400-acre property to be a wildlife management area. Department of Education has reached out to us that they would like to change the intent of this 400 acres and use it in a different way. There may be an opportunity for partnership with the agency in doing that, but in order to further their efforts, we do need to repeal the proclamation from 1990. So with that said, I'll happy to try to answer any questions, but that's what's in front of you.
Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, let me ask a quick question. Does this, this is not going to affect or hurt feelings of any of his descendants? We take away the name.
Well, we won't be taking the Alvin C. York name away. It will be just not establishing the wildlife management area piece. We have not noticed that in several years. It's a small piece of property, but they're going to do some timber harvest.
Going to be named.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir. The institute is still Alvin C. York. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? All right, commissioners, you've heard the proclamation, which is 24-01, repealing Proclamation 90-06, Alvin C. York Wildlife Management Area. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Chairman, I move to approve the proclamation.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Do I have a second? A second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Proclamation approves. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call Chief of Fisheries, Mr. Jason Henegar, to the podium. And again, congratulations, Jason. It's good to, a little real quick story about Jason. I remember Jason when he worked at Lowe's, putting himself through college in the early 90s. And he's a good East Tennessee boy, and it's good to see him climb the ladder. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Woods. Thank you, Commission, for allowing me to come today and to bring the Fisheries Proclamations 2402 and 2403 before you today for simple edits. There will be no changes in regulations today. In review of these two, in review of Proclamations 2311 and 2312 that these will replace, we noticed that there was some grammatical errors and some names that needed to be changed in these proclamations. So that's what we're doing today. There'll be no regulation changes. So the first change you'll see in your red line copy in front of you will be in Section 2, General Provisions, subsection A. We need to remove the statement male paddlefish harvested must be kept whole until transport to the wholesale roe fish dealer. This is no longer applicable because we're only allowing the harvest of gravid females. And this was a recommendation of the CFAC committee a couple years ago that we moved to the harvest of female only. So we just need to remove this sentence from that subsection. The second edit that we have is in subsection N of the same general provisions. And this is simply a name change of our, what was known as the Asian Carp Harvest Incentive Program. That is now changed to the Tennessee Carp Harvest Incentive Program, now known as T-CHIP instead of A-CHIP. So we're just making those changes, and also the change from Asian carp to invasive carp that's noted here in the subsection as well. So with that, I'll take any questions on Proclamation 2402.
Commissioners, any questions? Any questions from the public? All right, Commissioners, you've heard the presentation of Chief Henegar. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Blue. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Childers. All those in favor, say aye. Like sign. Proclamation 24-02 approved.
Thank you, Commission. The second proclamation is 24-03. Again, there will be no regulation changes, just clerical errors resolved here. So the first error is just for simplification. We'll be moving under Section 1, General Seasons, Statewide Creel Possession and Length Limits. If you remember last September, we changed the smallmouth regulation on Cherokee Reservoir. That coincides with the Norris regulation. So in this subsection, we'll just be removing the separate regulation for Cherokee and adding that to the Norris regulation. The next error that we're going to correct is in Section 3, trout fishing special regulations. We added a regulation for Fort Patrick Henry Reservoir. In doing so, when we added that, it remained, subsection I remained for the Caney Fork River and its tributaries. We're just replacing that with a J to better show that the progression there. So no regulation changes at all. And then the last correction that we'll be making is in Section 4, TWRA lakes and state fishing areas under subsection C. In moving Glen Springs to the group of regulations below, they left in the creel limit and size limit there. We're just removing that. So with that, I'll ask the commission to move forward with approval of Proclamation 24-03.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation change. Any questions on this one? All right. The chair will entertain a motion to approve. Commissioner Box, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Butt, a second. Baloo, sorry. Proclamation 20, at this time I'll take a vote. All those in favor? Like sign. Proclamation 2403 approved.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Do you have any updated numbers on netting of carp, maybe in the river or Mississippi River? What's the latest update?
We haven't gotten any updates on the Mississippi River at this point. I know we surpassed the 29 million pound mark just this fall for the overall incentive program, but we don't have any. I can research that and try to bring that back to you at a later date. I don't know right off. Thanks.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Blue for a short comment.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to bring it to the commission's attention. I've had a conversation with our director about this and some constituents in my district. I think there's been some conversation coming from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife that would directly affect some of our migratory refuges, not just in Tennessee, but all across the United States, even in the Dakotas. There's a policy that they have out right now. It came out, I think, February 2nd for public comment. The comment section is going to be open for 30 days, and it's involving the BIDA policy, BIDA, Biological Integrity, Diversity, and Environmental Health. This was adopted by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife around 2001, and it was to keep, obviously, the integrity of the refuges and some guidelines for the refuge managers to follow in a lot of different avenues. It's a very thick document, but basically where it's going to affect us, I believe, in a negative light, will be the farming practices on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife property, and then also the trapping policies that they will entertain in the future if this is adopted. We always talk about predator control, even in the Dakotas and our nesting grounds for ducks. It would have a negative impact on that because it would very limit
the trapping ability, number one. Number two, it would really have a negative impact on our farming practices that our share crop farmers that do the share crop farming on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I think it would, from what I've understood, Wally, I'm not a farmer, but it would negatively impact the farmer to the point to where it basically restricts the farmer to what he can't do, to where it's not a profitable situation for him, and it's not effective farming that would produce a good crop for migratory birds. Obviously, we would still have the refuge ground. It's not talking about losing any ground on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife property, but it would impact the farming. It would impact farmers, the local economy. It would take that farming ground away from the farmers. And it would, it would affect our waterfowl as they migrate to our U.S. Fish and Wildlife, to us. More food sources. So, so with that, I'm going to turn it over. I would like to see personally have some discussion on it, and maybe a letter of support or a letter against this, if we could support that as a commission and send it to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Director Maxedon is involved with the other state directors across the southern part of the United States that are going to stand against it as well. Director Maxedon is a lot more versed in it than I am, so I'm going to turn it over to Director Maxedon, if you could educate us a little further on it.
Yes, sir. Well, actually, Commissioner Blue, you did a really good job of describing it. One of the main things is this has never been a rule before. BITA has not been a rule. It's only been a policy, and they're trying to codify that as a rule now. And we are, as Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, we are a part of a greater group of directors from across the state and agencies called the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. And we get to comment on these things as state directors. And Commissioner Blue hit on a couple of those. There's about 5 points that we've brought to the attention of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And this is a good time to comment in. It's a 30-day comment period. It's a pretty short window. Typically, it's about 60 days. But I agree with Commissioner Blue. I think the commission would be good to draft something up as a commission and actually put that in their comments. We're already drafting something as Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies, and I'll read off the 5 main points that concern us as a state agency. Commissioner Blue's hit on a couple of these, but the concept of predator control and the lack of scientific definition for predators and the way they describe it. Restrictions on beneficial agricultural practice such as sharecropping and the way that they've got that defined in there. The lack of consideration for state fish and wildlife agencies' roles as authorities. The rigid processes that would overburden refuge managers and delay timely decisions. And then lastly is vague and ambiguous definitions that could be leveraged to restrict multiple uses of National Wildlife Refuge Systems, lands, and waters. And that's all I have for Blue, and we'll be happy the commission may want to be able to make that comment period.
Thank you, Commissioner Blue, and thank you, Director. Concerning situations coming out of Washington there, and I'm sure we'll do all we can to let our voice be heard. At this time, I'd like to hear from Director of Communications and Marketing, Miss Emily Buck. Please come to the podium.
Well, thank you, commissioners, for letting me join you today. Hopefully for something that will be a fun presentation. Today, we're going to kind of take a look back through the past year, and then we're going to take a look into the future as we get ready to celebrate our 75th anniversary as an agency. So before we get to our anniversary, let's start with our annual report. So fiscal year 2022 was the first year in several years that we published one of these graphic annual reports. And that was at the request of this commission, and Commissioner Granbery really kind of led the charge on that and worked with me on that first one. And on that first one, we highlighted an iconic game bird, a turkey. So since Wildlife had the cover last year, we thought it was fitting for Fisheries to have the cover this year. And this was actually a photo submitted by a member of the public, fly fishing. So certainly an excellent representation of the offerings that our beautiful state has. As we go through different iterations of our annual report, we hope to be able to highlight all the different aspects of our agency, including our great law enforcement officers and some non-game species as well. So in this, we certainly try to highlight all of the work that our agency is doing. And Commissioners, you do have a quick print in front of you. We have sent this to General Services to be professionally printed. So as you look at this one, if you see where the spiral has bumped into some words, don't panic. It will be bound magazine style the same way it was last year. We have highlights from all of our different aspects of our work in the annual report, including, for example, different creel survey results. So in West Tennessee, for example, anglers fished an estimated 1.3 million hours at Kentucky, Barkley, and Reelfoot Lake in FY23, and that produces roughly $8.1 million in economic impact for those communities. And we have stories from across the state of economic impact like that. We also highlight warm water and trout hatchery production. That adds up to nearly 9 million fish that are used to stock Tennessee waterways for the benefit of Tennesseans. With roughly 1.6 million acres of land under TWA management, there's plenty of habitat and management work to be done by our really excellent wildlife and forestry division. This year, TWA staff actively managed more than 63,000 acres, including grassland, forest land, and wetlands. 25,000 acres received prescribed fire treatments, which are valuable tools to encourage new growth and support native vegetation. Throughout the document, we highlight several of our very important game species, including wild turkey management and ongoing research projects with Tennessee Tech and the University of Tennessee. Some of these projects have been ongoing for many years, so it's exciting to see the results of those coming to fruition as a tool for our managers and commissioners. You recently heard some of those results. In FY23, we recorded a record attendance at the Sandhill Crane Festival with more than 4,500 visitors in just one weekend. I really want to brag on our Region 3 staff for producing and putting on this event, especially my Region 3 Communications Coordinator, Mimi Barnes. You know, they really put in countless hours to make this happen, and it's a really special event that the public has come to love. We also highlight, of course, conservation work from our non-game species. We have a lot of great partnerships across the state, including with the Nashville Zoo. So here on the bird page, you can see we've got a partnership with the Nashville Zoo to ban loggerhead shrikes. Another great partnership with the Nashville Zoo and with Tennessee State University is our Hellbender Head Start and Release program. In this past fiscal year, they were able to release 24 hellbenders back into the wild last year. And our staff plays an important role in that as they collect water and native crayfish to feed those captive raised hellbenders so that when they get turned loose, they're a little hardier and more likely to survive. Of course, we have several pages dedicated to law enforcement and the great work that they do. Here's an example of the boating safety page. Throughout the report, I tried to highlight our Staff of the Year awards, and we have several of those from different divisions in the report. On this page, we recognize Officer Matt Howard from District 31, who was the Boating Safety Officer of the Year. We talk about R3 and outreach a lot with you, commissioners. So we tried to highlight some of the programs that we either support or do ourselves. So on this page, we have an example of the grant funding that we provide to the Tennessee Wildlife Federation for them to put on their hunting and fishing academy and their hunt master programs. And of course, we recognize our own Buffalo Ridge programs, including bow and our youth and hero hunts. So I could go on all day talking about this thing. So those are just some highlights, but I want to end on really just by bragging on my team a little bit here. So we published quarterly issues of the Tennessee Wildlife Magazine, which goes to 215,000 subscribers. And we published 350,000 copies of the hunting and the fishing guides. So this past year, our communications manager, Jason Harmon, who's in the back here, he really stepped up into a role to be the publications editor. And he has done exceptional work in that role, not just for these big publications, but also for a lot of the smaller publications, one-page brochure type publications. And I've been really proud of the work that he's done this past year. We also adjusted our social media strategy in a few places, and we were pleased to add more than 50,000 new followers on social media across all of our platforms. I think a lot of that can be attributed to a lot of the great social media content that our team produces. Barry, for example, great videographer, produces really fun stories. And of course, the podcast, you know and love, Wildcast. Thanks to some additional efforts on the video editing side, Wildcast is now available to stream on Carbon TV, which really helps expand its reach. And on Spotify, streams grew by 28% of Wildcast last year. So kudos to Don, Jason, and Todd for hosting a great show, and of course, all of our staff who routinely join them. With that, I'll stop and pause here, take any questions you might have on the annual report before we head into the 75th anniversary.
Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Granbery.
Yeah, Emily, I just want to thank you. You took this challenge on when Commissioner Chairman Box had asked me to chair this new committee, and we challenged you with this. And, you know, I carry these last year's, I'll carry this year's around in my car, and I give them to anybody that'll take them. I have them on my coffee table at home, and I just can't say enough about the quality and the, you know, I know Anthony does a great job of dispelling myths on his show, and this agency does so much good, and we haven't done a good job in the past of really tooting our horn. We're always reacting to issues that come up, but this is a great way to really get the story out to all our constituents, and so I just commend you for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well said, Commissioner Granbery. Anyone else?
All right, hearing none then, I'll proceed on to 75th anniversary. So we're super excited to be celebrating our 75th anniversary as an agency. We were founded in 1949. So before we were founded, wildlife law enforcement was really essentially left to local police, and, you know, from what I've read, just wasn't really enforced. Market hunting was rampant, and many of our game species and non-game species habitat really were in bad shape. So in 1949, the Tennessee Game and Fish Commission was founded, and then eventually reorganized in 1974 as the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. At that time, they were governed by 10 commissioners. Now we've got 13. The more the merrier. And I found this Tennessean article. Commissioners, you have it in front of you there, since I know it's a little tricky to read. But if we take a closer look, it gives us a picture of the politics at the time. So this meeting, this very important meeting for the agency and the commission, actually was cut short because of an ice storm, and they ended up having the vote by phone. But at the time, the group was led by Chairman Eddie Evans and Director Harvey Bray. Apparently, the chairman and the director did not get everything they wanted out of the reorganization, but they did get several new staff positions and a mandate to reorganize in a way that was more effective. And those positions actually include the 4 regional managers. And so the reorganization did include some of this regional setup that has historically been part of the agency. So to celebrate our 75th anniversary, you know, it's important to remember where you come from. So this is the original Tennessee Game and Fish Commission logo. And when we were looking at what our 75th anniversary special logo should be, I wanted to create something that was reminiscent of this. And I will just say too, we had a few options in the mix, so I'm grateful for the other folks who helped contribute ideas to that. And we ended up letting the staff and our commissioners have a vote. And the one that won was this one. So we edited it to where it highlights our 75 years of wildlife conservation. And of course, we put Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency on it, but very reminiscent of the classic Game and Fish logo. So now we're putting it on everything. Today at noon, we actually are launching a brand new hard card. Commissioners, I set 3 up there. We didn't have quite enough for everybody. These will go live on our licensing platform at noon today. And I want to thank the licensing divisions and our friends at Brandt for working with me to help produce these. We pulled this photo from the archive, and we don't know who those guys are, but if anyone does, we'd love to hear more about it. But certainly an iconic shot of the interactions that game wardens were having with members of the public at the time. You can see from what we can see, he's not wearing a badge, but he does have the logo patch on his uniform. And so the law enforcement division wanted to do something special this year for the officers. So they have a 75th anniversary badge, and luckily I've got some really excellent models. If you'll just come forward, we're gonna get a closer look at these badges. You wanna come up here? So here they he said no. So thank you for letting me put you guys on the spot here. And Lieutenant Colonel Grandstaff actually has an original. So these badges were made based on the original badge. And so who was it that let us borrow this?
Lieutenant Andy Collins up in District 41.
Grateful to him for letting us borrow it for our show and tell today. But you'll see our game wardens wearing this badge. They'll have their official badges as well. But just really exciting to honor them because, you know, if you think about why this agency was founded, it was for law enforcement of wildlife regulations. Okay, so we're hoping to have plenty of fun this year. So we have some special events planned. We'll continue having our normal events, but we also wanted to launch a few extras. Of course, all of these events will be available on our events page at gooutdoorstennessee.com, but we're gonna have some open houses at our hatcheries so that folks can come and see how those fish are produced. We've been working closely with my team, with the R3 team and with the Fisheries division to really think about how we can really maximize Bobby Wilson Free Fishing Day events. Over in Region 3, there will be a new event called Birds, Bees, Bucks, and Trees. We've had some really great partners work with us on that one. We're hoping to expand and really improve on the Sunflower Festival. That's held every other year, but one that is incredibly well attended in Region 4. This year, for the first time, we're planning on hosting a waterfowl field day in Region 1 to help bring together duck hunters so that they can learn more about habitat management work on WMAs and just hear from partners. You know, we get to hear from folks like Dr. Cohen and his work with malotelemetry pretty routinely, but members of the public don't. So we wanted to give them that opportunity. And another great example, we are partnering with Quail Forever to host the first ever Bob White Heritage Festival to also highlight the work being done for that species. In addition to all that, you know, we're going to be producing more content than ever. I'm lucky to have a lot of great videographers and producers on the team. So we're planning a Who We Are video series to roll out different examples of the work that we do and why we do what we do. We're going to have some throwbacks from the archive, unique merchandise and giveaways, including a lapel pin that'll be coming soon. And we're going to be coordinating volunteer opportunities for our staff to give back and maybe some too as well for members of the public. And then it's not on the slide here, but just up the hill, we've actually also installed a free little library because we've had 75 years of wildlife education and we wanted to give people access to books and resources about wildlife. And there's some fun novels in there too. Now, okay, I'm going to pause and take any questions about the 75th anniversary. Okay, hearing none then, we have a special guest with us today. Chris Hennessy is from Decatur, Tennessee, which is also Jason Harmon's hometown. And Jason invited Chris for a Wildcast episode, and Chris suggested that we need a theme song. And then that got Jason's wheels turning. And then next thing you know, we were filming. So special thanks to Don King, Barry Cross, Connor Groves, and Todd Mazros, and of course, Chris himself for sharing his song with us. So now we're going to give you a little preview of the agency's 75th anniversary theme song. And then we're going to invite Chris to this public mic here just to say a few words about his inspiration for the song.
I have roamed across the land, and I have sailed the deepest sea. When I've drawn my last breath. Do this one thing for me. Won't you take me back to Tennessee? The southern streams are flowing free. Me and mine will always be right at home in Tennessee. Catoosa Hills, big sandy skies, Smoky Mountains, full of songs. That old Tennessee River, it calls to me. Should I stray too long, it wants to take me back to Tennessee. From the Wilford Lake to the Ocoee, me and mine will always be right at home in Tennessee. Won't you take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free? Me and mine will always be right at home in the woods of Tennessee. Me and mine will always be right at home in Tennessee.
Certainly an excellent song for our 75th anniversary in the agency and some iconic scenery in this. I'm going to introduce you to Chris now and let him tell you a little bit about his inspiration.
Hey, thanks for letting me speak. I appreciate you guys. That got me a little emotional, to be honest with you. I tell you what, first of all, I got to say, I got to brag on my buddy Jason Harmon. Grew up in the same place, Eaton, Meigs County, Tennessee. Appreciate everything you guys are doing. Don King, Todd, Miss Buck, thank you all so much for everything you've done. That was really great. Good job. I have to brag on them just a minute because I got to tell you guys, I'm 50. And so when I think of news, I think, I'm going to turn on the TV at 6 o'clock and Tom Brokaw is going to come on and tell me what's going on in the world. Well, my boys are 9 and 12. Well, they don't know anything about that. So how they get their news is they're going to find it online as they grow up, and they're going to learn so much from the internet as they move forward through their lives. And there's a whole generation of those guys. And so what Jason and the crew are doing with the Wildcast podcast is such an important thing for TWRA and for conservation. And so I just got to brag on them for a minute for the things that they're doing. And they're doing a great job. I grew up in Meigs County. I now live in Sumner County. I've never lived anywhere but Tennessee, and I don't plan to ever live anywhere else. God willing, that's where I'll be laid to rest, and that's what I hope for. But I have been all over this country. I've been in every state minus Alaska, and I'll get there someday. But I've spent a lot of time on the road. And I wrote this song out in the mountains out west somewhere because I was missing home so bad. And I tell you what, every time I would go on a trip somewhere and I'd come back to Tennessee, as soon as I came across the state line on 40 or 75 or whichever one it might have been, I was glad to be back in the green state of Tennessee. I grew up here. I absolutely love it. I grew up hunting and fishing here. I killed all my first animals here in the state of Tennessee, and my boys have too. So I just really want to tell you guys how much I appreciate what you do. And by the way, you showed the magazine earlier, and I got to tell you, from my boys' perspective, they're 9 and 12, and every time that magazine shows up at the house, they get so excited about it. They love to see the pictures on the front, especially the one with the bear paws sticking out of the tree. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I just really want to tell everybody I appreciate you. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, you're welcome to ask. So, but if not, I appreciate it.
I don't have a question, but I want to say that the words were outstanding, but the acoustics were even better than that. So I thank you. You
Well, I
bet.
gotta brag on Mr. King back there. He did a good job on recording it. So, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'd just like to say, man, wow, that is so cool, y'all. If that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as soon as I saw that eagle, I was like, oh, here we go. Hold it back, man.
Power. That's power. What? How long did it take you to write the song?
Well, it's funny. I won't take up too much of your time, but so I did a lot of time on the road, and I would drive the bus because, I was get bored. So I'm like, I got my CDL and I'd start driving. So I was actually driving through Montana, and I just started thinking of that first line, take me back to Tennessee, take me home. I'm trying to get this bus back home. And so it didn't take long, to be honest with you. It just kind of came out because it was just so natural to me, the hills. And we added a few special things in for the 75th anniversary, a few specific locations. But yeah, it came pretty quick though.
That was so cool.
Thank
So
you
cool.
so
We used to like hunting and fishing, loving every day. That was our roll-up song to the duck blind. I think we're gonna have a new one maybe next year.
All right.
And maybe play a video with it. It's cool.
Well, I got to tell you guys, so when I first got onto the podcast with Jason, I played this song and I said, I want this to be the new Tennessee state song. No offense to Rocky Top. I love it, but anyways, I wrote this song for that reason. So.
No, I think we can make that happen, maybe.
All right, I like it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Commissioners, that's all from me. Thanks for letting me share some fun with you today.
Thank you, Emily. That was very exciting. Any comments from any more of the commissioners?
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. That was great. I've got a quick unrelated question, but I want to know when Don King's going to grow his beard. Everybody's got one but you.
Don's old school. I don't think that'll happen. I'd say he'll grow his when you grow yours. All right, everyone. Now we're moving to the budget update. I'd like to call Chief Ken Tarkenton. Would you please come to the podium for the financials report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of a tough act to follow. I wished I could have something quite as exciting. Maybe this is exciting. This will be exciting today. I would like, before I begin, to thank William Nolan, who's our Finance and Administration Budget Analyst, and Colleen Daniels, who's the Budget Coordinator, for being with us today, and their boss, who's the State Budget Director, David Thurman, so they can see how the commission and how we conduct business. First up, and I think you have it on your screens also. I'll refer to pages, but I guess there are actually slides what the general population is looking at. On the voting side of the House, I'm reporting through the month of December. January closed yesterday. I don't have all of those figures yet, but this is through December. Registration income is close to what we projected. It's a little less than projection by about $50,000 through the first 6 months. The expense to budget is at 28% of the annual allotment. Next slide is the Wildlife Fund. in the middle of your page also. License income is doing better than we had projected at $1.4 million. And the expense to budget is at approximately 34% of the total allotment. The next slide, or the bottom of your page, identifies the Wetlands Acquisition Fund, and we currently have a $19,700,000 amount in the reserve. On the next slide, or last page, that identifies the funds that we have invested, or the Treasury invests for us, as well as the current SPIF. That's the State Pool Investment Fund, which is where the other funds are invested, and it's currently at 5.38. Are there any questions or comments?
Commissioners? Any questions or comments? Well, that's good. Thank you, Ken.
Anytime.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, say 10 minutes. We'll be back here at 25 to 11. Thank you.
And even outside of bass, Chickamauga is really known for crappie fishing. You know, we have a good striped bass fishery there. Of late, we've got about a 9-year-old walleye stocking program there, and it's really doing good. So, so we're excited about it. It has a lot to offer.
And not just the lake right there, but we were talking with John Dalton with Creek Fishing Adventures. He likes to fish those creeks right off of Chickamauga.
Yeah.
And talked about how rich in life they are.
It really is. You know, it's a really resilient reservoir, and it's kind of like on autopilot. We can't take credit for everything there, all the successes. But it's just a really good host for a fishery there, and for multiple species. So it's exciting to be a part of Chickamauga.
Yeah, I just want to say Gabe Keene broke a 60-year record. That's pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
And it really does stem from the reservoir work that you all put in science to do. We're not just dropping fish in.
Right.
A lot of science goes into it. And I'm so proud of you and your crew for the work that's done to get to those good numbers and help our anglers be successful.
Yeah. Well,
including me.
Yeah. Yeah. We get a lot of positive feedback. You know, it's people are excited. And that's one thing that made the project a success too, is all the support we had from anglers and stuff, you know, willing to take that on, because it is an investment in time too. Things in the fish world don't typically happen automatic and really quick. So in a stocking program, you have to wait to see that come to fruition.
So how old is the reservoir? Tell us a little bit about that body of water.
So Chickamauga was created in 1940. So it's 83-year-old. And, you know, that's a challenge in itself as reservoirs get older. You know, the challenges there, just the degradation and habitat that was traditionally there, sedimentation. It's a little over 36,000 acres, so a very big reservoir. Of course, a main stem reservoir on the Tennessee River, and it has some major tributaries, Hiwassee River being the biggest there, but some towns that are around it are Dayton, kind of in the midsection there, and Chattanooga on the southern end. So,
a lot of use.
A lot of use. Yeah.
And so what is it known for? So we talked about largemouth bass, but you talked about those walleye, crappie. What's the big draw to that area?
So the 65% of the people who fish Chickamauga are bass fishing, and that's what they're doing. And it is like you mentioned, it's on the national radar. A lot of tournament circuits are coming in throughout the year, have really filled up a lot of the towns and grown communities.
I mean, hotels being built just for that. Yeah,
they are, and it's really amazing. But also, you know, outside of the obvious there, the crappie fishing is typically the number 2 fish on Chickamauga that people are fishing for. And it's a really good fishery as well. And catfishing, it's awesome down there, you know, and it's one of those on autopilot. But we don't do anything really to enhance it. It's just got the right ingredients that promote that population to really be sustainable and provide a great opportunity. But even if you get into the bluegill and the red ear sunfish on Chickamauga, it's really good, you know, and it does it on its own down there. So it's really kind of a magic place. It's special.
You know, that's one thing. Here we are with a biologist, fisheries biologist, reservoirs biologist, but we are very aware of the economic impact
Yes.
that fisheries can have on a region. And it's one thing that our anglers aren't often thinking about, but we do. And I appreciate that. Yeah, tourism is a big thing when it comes to fish in the South.
It is, and it's been well documented that Chickamauga is a multi-million-dollar industry, you know, for communities annually down there.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that history of stocking Chickamauga and where we are today.
Yeah, so early on, pretty much the management, because Chickamauga is so good, most of the management was just a few stocking regimes, sauger, striped bass. That was pretty much it. In the 80s, and it was pretty liberal bass limits. Is like 10 at 12 inches. Crappie were 30 a day. And those are a little more conservative now, but they've just fell in line with statewide regulations. So now it's 5 at 15 inches on the bass, largemouth, and then only 15 a day on the crappie. So stocking still continues. And for example, with sauger, because they were so hard to deal with in hatchery systems, and even collect, they're really they're known as Tennessee's mystery fish. But in 2011, I decided to change from sauger to walleye on Watts Bar, and it was very successful. So in 2014, I implemented that on Chickamauga, and it's been great. I talked to a guy at service, the guy that owned it out of Chattanooga in the last few weeks, and he told me from January of next year through May, they have every weekend booked except one for walleye fishing trip.
Wow.
People coming from all over the nation to fish for that. So that's how things have evolved. So now we stock, you know, the Florida largemouth bass and the striped bass and the walleye, but it's just it's got the right ingredients, you know, to promote those fisheries. It doesn't work everywhere just because you stock.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. What are you looking at? What are you looking for on Chickamauga that allows that?
Well, it really exemplifies what you would want in a reservoir. So habitat, even though it is older, it still obviously has the right habitat to have natural reproduction. So even though we're stocking species, except for striped bass that we don't expect to spawn, but they still have enough natural spawning success that they're really promoting and enhancing that fishery. So it's also got a really good forage base, different species of shad in there, very abundant, and it's been, like I said, really resilient through the years, where other reservoirs seem to have taken more of a hit, maybe. But it's got the right ingredients, you know, to really promote those stocking programs.
And then one other question I thought of, Mike, is where are those fish you're stocking coming from?
So currently, and for the last few years, all the Florida all the fish, but I would talk about the Florida largemouth bass. We started that in 2000, and we were having to get those fish, which are fingerlings when we stock them. They're 1 to 3 inches roughly. We would have to get those from a lot of other states. And now we're raising those. TWRA hatcheries are raising those themselves. And so, as are all the fish that we stock.
Yeah, that's awesome. And shout out to all the employees in the region are working on.
Yeah, they do an awesome job.
I was with Mike once when they were stocking. You remember those two gentlemen, and one of them said, "We're putting in fingerlings," and one of the gentlemen said, "Fishing's going to be good next year." I said, whoa, you know, it's going to take a little bit.
That's exactly right.
What's that growth rate? What are you seeing? Like, how long does it take that fish to reach that maturity if someone's going to enjoy catching it?
Yeah, so a lot of our size limits are set up to when they become of a crillable size. In other words, where it's legal size to catch them, like crappie 10 inches. That's typically a 3-year-old fish, and that's allowed that fish to. They can do it as early as 2-year-old, be sexually mature, where they can, you know, give back through spawning naturally there. But at 3-year-old, roughly 10 inches, and then on bass, typically. Well, on Chickamauga, it's about a 3-year-old bass down there is about 13 to 14 inches. So they grow from there, but they have really good growth rates there compared to other reservoirs too.
So give us just a few years.
Yeah, exactly. So
after those initial stockings take place, but now the fish are in the system. Obviously, with Chickamauga being so popular, not just in Tennessee but across the United States, we're seeing the success of those stockings that started so long ago. And I gotta throw one more thing out there on you and brag on you. how many years of research did you do before introducing smallmouth, or I'm sorry, Florida largemouth into Chickamauga?
Yeah, so
How many years of research?
quite a bit, and we looked at data that had been collected statewide in the 1980s on different reservoirs in the state that showed that there were some Florida genes already present.
Awesome.
So in stocking the Florida bass, we knew that we weren't totally just throwing a brand new product out there that was going to cause problems. So there was a lot of research in that. A lot of other states, Oklahoma and some even southern states, had put Florida bass in. So we knew what the interaction had been there. So, and a lot of people ask us, well, hey, if Alabama bass are such a bad thing, why do you stock Floridas? And Floridas and Northerns are basically both a subspecies of largemouth bass. So they're very similar, and they're not really any known interferences between the two. So what we found out through stocking those Floridas is when they hybridize with the existing population, the Northerns, is that kicks out even a faster growing fish. And that state record was an F1, which had a Northern parent and a Florida parent. So it's like a 50-50.
So what about in your sampling that y'all have done? You think there's going to be another record come out of there?
I get asked that a lot. So, our sampling shows a lot of promise. And just for an example, back around 2000 in our electrofishing, we look at how many fish per hour we catch that are 15 inches or greater. And that was about 5 an hour. Most recent surveys were over 30 an hour on Chickamauga.
Wow.
So there's a lot of potential there, right? So, but we still see every year fish that are being caught in the double digits. When we depend on tournaments and stuff, and we'll go visit and get information from some of those as we can to find out what they're catching, because they're targeting big fish.
Definitely.
We're doing electrofishing as well, but some of those big fish are a little tougher to capture at times. But the potential's there. It wouldn't surprise me any day if it happened, but if there's a little bit of lag in it, who knows there as well. So.
Well, we've talked a lot about the fish itself and that kind of management, but like habitat, you mentioned it's an 80-something-year-old lake, or 83-year-old lake. So what kind of habitat stuff are we doing?
Yeah, so quite a bit, and it's really evolved through the years. We used to do some partnerships, and we would go in and plant cypress trees for shoreline stabilization. All kind of different habitat there, and then we would put just brush in, and most of it was focused then on just fish attractor places that would help the fish be located for the fishermen to catch and make it easier. And a lot of the concentration now is putting habitat in areas where good spawning, historically there's been good spawning efforts with bass and crappie there. So if we can get some cover in there for the juvenile fish, it adds a layer of protection for them as they're young and as they're growing. And then even throughout the year, it also allows some refuge for the adult fish to be able to hide in or do ambush for their prey or whatnot. So we do a lot of that. And those sites that we've put in are on our website as well too. So with 9 reservoirs, we do a rotation. So we're not on Chickamauga every year, but we are hitting them pretty hard. And thankfully, we've had some work units, some high school fishing teams that have helped, and different donations, that even come in outside of our own funding to help with habitat projects.
Yeah, we're not just talking 1 or 2 fish attractors.
Yeah, it's several. Yeah, we put in.
I see the truckloads going, trailer fulls going.
Yeah, we put in over 100 just in the last few months on a couple of arms in Chickamauga there. So,
yeah, pretty impressive work.
Put you on the spot real quick.
Yeah,
but like y'all use different structures, different types of materials. Ease people's minds that we're not contaminating the water with these structures that we're putting in. It's good for the fish, good for the habitat, and it's not hurting anything. We get those questions.
I'm glad you brought that up. So there's a real dilemma. Used to it was chainsaws around the bank cutting brush. Well, there's so many other things to consider now. Bad habitat and different things, and maybe you cause erosion to happen, and you just can't do it around the lakes anymore. So getting brush that's available to even put in is hard. But the plastics and some of the commercial products that we're using have been studied by multiple states, looked at, and it's what most states have really gone to for a lot of it because of longevity. Once you put it in, we don't have to focus on that area again in 3 to 5 years where the brush would be deteriorated. It's still there. A lot of it is concrete and wooden stakes. So, that's pretty natural. It's not going to cause any harm there. So we of all of our research and knowledge and talking to other states and going to multi-state workshops, we found no reason not to use, different products that we're using. I know sometimes they look bad in a picture because it's like a bunch of plastics, but they do have their purpose. And for feasibility is another big thing. It's a really good way to be able to put more habitat out that's going to last longer and allows for more areas.
Yeah,
It's
for the
good.
benefit of fish.
Yeah, glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you touched base on some of this already, but talk a little bit more about the challenges of reservoir management. I mean, you've touched base on a few things, but
Yeah.
let's focus on that for a
Sure.
second. A lot of challenges.
Yeah, a lot of challenges, getting older, like the one that talked about there. And, reservoirs being unique, it's really you're having to look. And Chickamauga within itself has unique fisheries. The upper third of the reservoir is more riverine. So you're going to have different species inhabiting that. That need attention, looked at, evaluations, and then the lower 2/3 is more lake-like. And then you have the Hiwassee River. That's a totally different system in itself.
Yeah.
It meets a trout stream, on the upper edge of it that our streams crew manages. And so those are challenges. Invasive species, Chickamauga, for example, zebra mussels have in the last several years, of course, invaded most of the systems down the Tennessee River chain there, if not all. And then the Alabama bass. We talked about that. That's going to provide a lot of layer of management decisions in very short future. And then aquatic vegetation. And a lot of that's good, but not all of it's good. Some of it's invasive. There's two different types of hydrilla, monoecious and a dioecious, and the monoecious is really bad. It's really thick. It comes up 4 or 5 feet and forms a big dense wall, and fish can't really utilize it. Really locks up the reservoir. So not all of that's good.
Who manages
Great
vegetation?
question. So TWRA does not manage aquatic vegetation. So that is the operating authority. And on Chickamauga, that would be TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. And they manage that. Any permitting that's done would need to be under their guidelines and stipulations. We don't do any kind of assessments on abundance of it or anything like that. So that's not anything we do. We do, see kind of results of it, population densities up and down through the years and kind of what it does with the fisheries. But we don't do anything with managing aquatic vegetation. Thanks for bringing that up. Get a lot of calls about
We
that.
do get a lot of calls about that. So what are some of the other challenges? I mean, that's a big body of water.
Well, for Chickamauga specifically, challenges there would be the high pressure. So we talked about it being a national destination.
People are coming here.
Yeah, and I get a lot of questions about that. Like, hey, how long can this place hold up to this kind of pressure? Because the locals are really complaining about not having a boat ramp to put in because they're always clogged up with all these people fishing. Now, on one way, that's a big check mark for success, right? We've got a good fishery, people are coming in, but it's also putting a lot of pressure on the fishery. And if you talk about bass, one thing that we've constantly tried to steer people away from are those summertime tournaments. When that water gets above 75 degrees, if you can do away with them, that's good, or at least cut back the number of fish you're weighing in, because it's an exponential growth as water temperatures go up on mortality of fish. Invasive species would be another one. And that we have to constantly evaluate is stakeholder groups. People have different interests. And going back to the aquatic vegetation, you have all the lakefront owners, and they want it cleaned away from their dock, and rightfully so. But the fishermen don't want any of it sprayed because they like it for the fish. So having to kind of balance that and look at that. So those are some of the, I guess, immediate challenges. Access areas. Going back to that one, we constantly when we talk to our fishermen, they're in need of more access areas.
Yeah.
And TWRA doesn't own every ramp around the reservoir either. So, but
good point.
Yeah. But we do, we do a great job of taking care of what we got, and even partnership, and at times, to try to expand boat ramps to make it available for people.
Yeah. Did we cover everything of the challenges that lake provides to our management, anglers?
Probably not everything. Those are the big hitters. And as far as challenges, the way we evaluate, I guess, and look at kind of what challenges that are out there that maybe we don't see with the naked eye is through constant evaluations through our spring electrofishing surveys. We have creel programs and talk to anglers and document their catches, and we get socioeconomics from all those kind of things. We do different kinds of netting,
Hmm.
seining, and, you know, just engaging with all that and then pouring over that data and looking at it comparatively, you know, 10, 20 years and seeing kind of where things are going. And I guess a big challenge, and going back to the bass, what's really leading management decisions with that stocking program are genetic tests. So we collect fish, and we know that what age fish we can age them. We know what size obviously that fish is, and we take a fin clip and send it off, and we get a genetic composite back of that fish. So we'll be able to tell this composite of fish, a F1, a pure Northern, pure Florida, or some convoluted of all that. This is our best growing fish. So that's what we want to be tailoring that place to put in it or try to grow or whatever, because we know that's the best product. So that takes time too. So that's something, if you look at management from an earlier question that y'all had, you know, back then versus now, is genetics is really leading a lot of what we're doing there, because we can identify the best product we have through genetics.
Yeah, that's amazing. And something I think the general public doesn't necessarily think about. And you can't do it with the naked eye. You've taught me a lot about that, Mike, and you just can't do it with the naked eye. And I'll say my cubicle's across from his, and I see the notebooks full of data and hear him punching on those keys on the computer. And it's a part of the fisheries biologist that I'm happy to share.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Well, you talk about the right genetics and challenge with working with people and different opinions, and then the fact that this is now a Bill Dance signature lake too. So that's another element that goes into you know, attracting folks.
Coffee table.
Okay, we're moving into the rulemaking hearing section of our agenda today. I'm Commissioner Chair Tommy Woods, and I will serve as the presiding officer of the rulemaking hearing. The Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission will be considering one rule amendment and one emergency rule. The rule amendment has been publicly noticed with applicable law. It has been filed with the Secretary of State's office and has been available on the public record section of the agency's website. Agency staff has copies of the proposal and red line for anyone that would like a paper copy. The emergency rule, by its nature, has not been publicly noticed, but it will have a temporary applicable, and agency staff will ensure that the applicable law and policy is followed regarding the emergency rule. The order of proceedings will be as follows. Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency staff will present information relative to the rule. I will recognize the agency staff member accordingly. Commission members will then be permitted to ask questions or provide comments on the rule. Once the commission member has had the opportunity to speak, members of the public will be permitted to provide comment on the rule before the commission. All parties should identify themselves before speaking. As a chair, I reserve the right to limit the comments and discussion, especially in case of repetition. Members of the public will have 3 minutes for their comment. After an opportunity for public comment, the commission will vote via a roll call vote. With the orders of the proceedings established, I will now recognize Lieutenant Colonel Matt Majors from the agency's Boating and Wildlife Division to come forward for the rule presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commission. So if you remember last month, I presented a no-wake amendment to the Sunset Marina. I'm going to refresh your memories on what that language would look like. So the first section, there is no change. All vessels operated within 200 feet of Sunset Marina shall be operated at a slow no-wake speed. The second part of that, all vessels operated around Sunset Marina and Highway 111 Bridge as delineated by a line of informational buoys, and buoys shall not tow persons, skis, surfboards, tubes, and similar devices between May 1st and October 1st. So it's ultimately a no-tow zone. So the proposed amended language, all vessels operated within approximately 3,500 feet instead of 1,600 feet on the east side or the upstream side of 111 and 1,100 feet on the west side downstream of the Highway 111 bridge as delineated by a line of informational buoys shall be operated at a slow no-wake speed from May 15th through September 15th. And if you recall, this original rule was on the books from 2002. And since then, that marina has expanded to the extent of where they can expand to. And you can see those docks, and the challenges for them were all the people coming in and out of there were going up on plane or coming off plane at that particular location was causing quite a bit of danger to their marina. A lot more congestion on our waterways as well. So that's a big part of why they approached us about potentially extending this no-wake zone. Do you have any questions?
Member of the commission, any questions?
Yeah, I asked this before, Matt, just for clarification, outside of 200 feet, boats can travel at normal speed.
So I discussed this with some of the staff up there, and they were under the impression that the entire thing was closed during that outside of those dates. So during the fall, what I've come up with is during the fall and winter, 200 feet is all they get. But during that one time, the entire channel would be slow no-wake speed, if that makes sense. And that's similar to the one we have there at Sligo Marina on Center Hill Lake, which it's a much wider area there, but there's so much going through here.
All right, so explain to me the difference in the times. Why would you allow it? It's just because of congestion?
Congestion, and that's primarily when your bigger, heavier boats are out there and they're going up and down. It's primarily a fishing lake in the winter. A lot of those boats are a lot smaller, so they produce less of a wake. Them being outside of that 200 feet is not really going to affect the marina that much.
What is, I'm not familiar with other ramps or marinas on either side, but I think I said this before, as I recollect, there's a marina and entry point up that comes out to the main lake, and they have to go by Sunset to get there.
Yes, that's correct. Upstream, there is another marina. I had talked to that marina owner. His only concern is that we weren't going to close that area. What we've done is just extended it a little bit for the no-wake zone, and we certainly do not want to interrupt any commerce he has going on there. But that area of the river east of the marina is very sought out by our wakeboard boats because it's very small, protected from the wind. And I say very small, it's wide enough to wakeboard in there, but they will flock to that area above the marina because they're away from the masses of the other people that are on the lake.
Well, we did this before. There was the residents up there, and the marina didn't like it because it was the time taken normally to get to the lake, to enjoy the lake, was going to be 20 minutes or so getting through there.
Sure. And this extension will make it about 3/4 of a mile, no-wake speed.
Any more questions from the commission? Any more questions or comments from the public? All right, are we ready to vote? Miss Mary, will you call the roll to take the vote?
Chris Devaney. Jimmy Granbery.
Yes.
Monty Blue. Stan Butt. Wally Childress.
Yes.
Bill Cox.
No.
Chip Saltzman.
Yes.
Hank Wright.
Yes.
Brad Box. Kent Woods.
Yes.
Greg Davenport.
Yes.
Tommy Woods.
Yes.
That's all ayes and one no.
Thank you, Miss Mary. The rule amendment to Rule Chapter 1660-02, 2022-07.34 relative to the no wake zones at Sunset Marina passes. All right, Mount Major's on to the next one.
Thank you. So this is an emergency rule. We don't often use this, but this is in times of that we need rulemaking pretty quick. So some of the Fort Loudon Marina, as you may know, and I put some pictures up there for context. When we got our snow event last month, a good part of that marina was collapsed, especially the part that sticks out in the lake. We immediately had officers there assisting with that in any way they could to make sure those boats didn't have people in them or anything like that. After they begun work, they reached out to the agency and they said, hey, there's a lot of boats coming by here, onlookers. And we've got a lot of people on these docks trying to work to get them taken apart. And on several occasions, dock workers had almost fallen off the dock. Some of their tools had fallen in the lake. And there was just a lot of people around there. So they were looking for a little bit of relief. And as I move forward, I'm going to show you where this is. If you look at that graphic there, it is that main one sticking out in the lake there. They did have some damage to their other docks, but not as significant as the full collapse that they got on this front dock. This is just above the dam there at Tennessee River Mile 602 in the Tennessee River system. And this is a really busy area of the lake, even in the fall and winter. So again, here you see some of the efforts. They've got people up on these docks taking them apart. Additionally, one of the things they saw is with all this wake coming in there, people getting closer, some of the boats were even starting to sink more. As they would rock back and forth, there was more release of fuel and oil in the water. So there was concerns from an environmental aspect as well. So we took they said, hey, if you'll just let us put out no wake buoys. And we said, we've got to take this through rule to do that. So the marina itself is willing to buy the no wake buoys, and they just want it temporary while they get all of the debris cleaned up. Now, this will not cover them once they start building that marina again. They have ways to do that the wake's not going to bother them. But they're really just trying to take care of their workers here on this one. So this is what it would look like, and this is the proposed language. All vessels being operated within 1,500 feet of Fort Loudon Marina near Tennessee River Mile 602, as delineated by a line of informational buoys, shall be operated at a slow, no-wake speed. Now, what we've got we've got 180 days. They anticipate that this may take 90 days, which we hope it does, because as we get into the spring and summer, this would be almost nightmarish for our officers. We would have to keep somebody there to really enforce that. So as soon as they're done with that, they're going to remove these buoys. We're going to recommend that they do, but this will cover them for 180 days, and they do not anticipate renewing it. They've got a pretty good crew of people there that are taking this apart. So, any questions?
Any questions, comments from the commission? Commissioner Saltman.
Yeah, so right now they don't have the no wake buoys.
They do
and it's
not.
been what, 10 days?
It's closer to 30.
Yeah. Okay. The reason I ask that is maybe for a future conversation. It's kind of, for me, why are we waiting this long to do this? It's dangerous. I think the commission should at least consider in the future some kind of an emergency rulemaking that doesn't, maybe the chairman and the executive director can do it on the fly, then come back to the commission at the next available. But to wait this long for this seems dangerous to me. So that's something I'd like to put to you, Chairman, to discussion for an emergency type like this in the future, that the chairman and the executive director can do it on their own.
General Counsel Grimes and I have discussed that, and he'll comment.
That's a good point, Commissioner. So I got with the AG's office when this situation arose, and this was the most agile way we could create a scenario. Statute doesn't really have a scenario where we can put a no wake zone without actually going through this, but that is a kind of a matter of legislative consideration in an issue in an emergency like this in the future. It absolutely is.
And additionally, one thing to mention is in the interim, for mitigation purposes, we've been putting officers out there just to be educational to the public. Hey, if you don't mind kind of staying back a little bit or going a little slower through this area. So we have tried to meet them halfway, even though we couldn't get the rulemaking going through very quickly.
Excellent. Commissioner Blue?
That's what I was going to say. Do we, I figured we would have a warning period on the rule we just made, and even on this one, a good warning citation or whatever, if we had a period on that.
Yeah, good comment. And this is more, it does give our officers the ability to stop and educate. It would be highly unlikely, unless it was a repeat offender, in my mind, that they would ever write a citation for this. They really are just trying to help the Marine out at this point.
Any other comments from the commissioners? Any comments from the public or questions? All right, hearing none. Are we ready to vote? Miss Mary, will you please call the roll?
Chris Devaney.
Aye.
Jimmy Granbery.
Yeah.
Monty Blue.
Aye.
Stan Butt.
Yes.
Wally Childress.
Yes.
Bill Cox. Chip Saltzman.
Yes.
Hank Wright.
Yes.
Brad Box.
Aye.
Kent Woods.
Yes.
Greg Davenport.
Yes.
Tommy Woods.
Yes.
All ayes, Chairman.
Thank you, Miss Mary. The emergency rule to Rule Chapter 1660-02-07.34 relative to the no-wake zone, Fort Henry Loudon passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Okay, we have a special time here in the commission. We would like to honor a special person, and I'd like to call Director Maxedon to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, we're here nearing the end of our meeting, which means it's time to say goodbye to an individual that's been a strong leader for this agency and a public servant for outdoorsmen. Not only that, but he's become a good friend to many of us. We've had a lot of good times with Commissioner Kent Woods. In fact, our public commission meetings alone add up to about 41 hours of public meetings each year. And over the course of a 6-year term, that's close to 246 hours. And this is how much time he spent dedicated to the official leadership of the agency. Then on top of that, you add all the individual calls, the emails, the meetings with members of the public, the ribbon cuttings, grand openings, and different events, informational committee meetings, and travel across the state. And you can clearly see how much dedication it takes to be a Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commissioner. A lot of folks probably think that this is a fun job to have, and they would be right. Commissioner Woods might just be one of the most entertaining commissioners that we have. You've heard many different things he has, just like he opened this morning. We get many laughs, and he's brought us many laughs over the years. So thank you for that, Commissioner Woods. We've had so much fun during his term. We've kept him around for a bonus year this year. Commissioner Woods, on behalf of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, I just want to say thank you. You've been a blessing to this agency. You really care for the staff. Thank you how you care for the folks, and thank you what you've done for the men and women of our state. If you'll come forward, we've got a couple of presentations, but we made a special presentation to Commissioner Woods last night. I don't have a picture of that, but he had asked for a gun going out. He got a really nice water gun from maybe one of the commissioner's wives. Might have had a little insight into this. But Commissioner, if you'll come forward, we've got something we'd like to present you with.
Yeah.
I will say real quick, I know why they got me this, because at our last meeting, I spotted these in the one of the rooms and everything, and I started out the door with one of them. You can't take that. You can't take that. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And, I appreciate it. Everybody's like family here. I've got a new family, and I hope all of you still stay in touch with me. And I really appreciate it. It was an honor to have got to serve the 6th year, and it was a real honor to be asked to serve the 7th year and stay on. And I really appreciate all of you. So I consider all of you family.
think there's one more thing.
Yeah, there's some
I'm
more.
gonna turn it back over to the chairman for this one.
Thank you, Director.
Do I need to go sit down or I gotta stand up?
You can sit down for a minute, okay? Collect your thoughts. At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Chuck Yost to join me at the podium to read a resolution honoring Kent Woods.
All right, Mr. Chairman and Executive Director, thank you for this honor. This is excellent. And so I'm about to share with you a resolution by the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. And it's already been recognized just how much of a character Commissioner Woods is. And you know, trying to describe that in a resolution, I just want to say if there's anything in here that's inappropriate, that Commissioner Blue wrote it. A resolution to honor and commend Commissioner Kent Woods of Kodak, Tennessee, for his dedicated service to the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission and the outdoorsmen and women of this great state. The commission is tasked with regulatory authority of hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation in Tennessee, as well as the governance of the TWRA. And Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commissioners are non-salaried public servants who give of their time and talents to the benefit of the state and spend countless hours corresponding with constituents in their district. And being a known business and community leader, Kent Woods was appointed by Governor Bill Haslam of the state of Tennessee to represent the people of Scott, Campbell, Union, Morgan, Anderson, Knox, Cumberland, Roane, Loudoun, Blount, and Sevier counties to the best of his abilities. And Commissioner Woods brought a wealth of knowledge and lifelong experience in hunting, fishing, boating, business, and farming to the role of commissioner. And members of the commission and members of the general public would rightly agree that Commissioner Kent Woods' leadership was commonsensical and passionate of the needs and wishes of constituents. And the boating and law enforcement, government relations, retention and recruitment, fisheries management, audit, property and infrastructure, and wildlife management committees of the commission all benefited from Commissioner Woods' participation. And Commissioner Woods provided exceptional leadership in his service as vice chair and chair of the Fisheries Committee, vice chair of the Wildlife Management Committee, and chair of the Government Relations Committee. And Commissioner Woods' insight was instrumental in delivering positive change to hunting regulations, including increasing hunting opportunities for youth bear hunters, more convenient check-in options for harvested bears, and more equitable duck blind drawings. And Commissioner Woods notably served the commission during his term of 2017 through 24, while simultaneously overseeing multiple businesses, fulfilling the most important role of father to his three daughters, and while also serving as an 8th District Commissioner in Sevier County. And it is fitting for this commission to permanently commemorate and salute those who, through their extraordinary efforts have distinguished themselves as conservation leaders of whom we can all be proud. And therefore, be it resolved, the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission expresses sincere appreciation for his comedic sensibility and humor Kent Woods brought to every situation, providing great, much needed respite for challenging times. And be it further resolved, the commission will forever memorialize his signature acronym, BLD, as a most entertaining colloquialism phrase delivered in Kent Woods' one-of-a-kind Southern accent. I'm going to pause right there because he's the only person that I ever heard compliment someone that smelled really well, that they smell like a bologna sandwich. Let's let that sink in. Be it further resolved The heroic efforts of Commissioner Kent Wood should be recognized in the timely rescue of former Commissioner Jim Ripley, who was distressingly trapped inside an undersized layout blind while goose hunting in the freezing conditions of Saskatchewan, Canada. And be it further resolved, the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission and the Wildlife Resources Agency concurrently honor Kent Woods for his service and wish him enduring happiness and continued success in his future endeavors. It is therefore resolved on the 16th day of February, 2024, signed the Executive Director, Jason Maxedon, and Chairman of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission, Tommy Woods. Come on up here and join us. Thank you.
So when I first got on the commission, every officer I would run into would always say, "Hey, we know your cousin Kent from Sevierville." Well, I'm not kin to Kent. Not that I wouldn't be proud to be called his cousin or his brother, for that matter of fact. But he would always tell the officers some harebrained story about how we grew up and how we hunted and how we fished and how we did this and how we did that. That was all not true. None. Never knew Kent till I got on the commission. But I will say it's been an honor getting to know Kent, and I hope he becomes one of my lifetime friends. So I'm going to open the floor up for comment. Any other commissioners would like to say anything?
Yeah, I had told Kent before a year ago, but it's truly an honor to have served with you. You're a good commissioner. You're a good friend, and you always made me feel better when we saw each other. So if I was, wasn't having such a good day when I left Kent, my day was better. So I appreciate that.
Well, you call me in the future when you're having a bad day.
Hey, Kent, this is just typical Kent. Hey, love you. Congratulations. Miss you. Not going to miss you a whole lot. Maybe when you still run around. I know we will. But Jason, director, started reading all those nice things about him. I looked down there at him. He said, "I must be a hero."
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all of you. Like I said earlier, I mean, it's like a whole different family to me and everything. And I mean, I consider all of you as brothers and sisters, and I mean, my first year on here, it was a lot of learning to do and everything, but I learned how many great people there are with this agency that work so hard to make it so smooth for us as commissioners. If it wasn't for you all, the backbone of this, doing your job and doing so well at it, it would be tough on us.
Amen.
And I appreciate all of it. They said this would be the sad day, so I guess this is the sad part of it. But
well,
I appreciate all of you, and you'll see me in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
One last chance for comments on Commissioner Kent. All right, so the commissioner will entertain a motion for the resolution for Commissioner Kent Woods. Of course you do.
So moved.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor? Resolution approved. Thank you, Kent. Our commissioners, as you know, it's that time of year that we begin to plan for the next year of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. With that said, at our January meeting, I convened a nominating committee for officers for the 2024 and 25 cycle of commission. Commissioner Hank Wright served as chair of that committee. Joining him were Rhonda Moody and Commissioner Brad Box. Commissioner Rhonda Moody, I'm sorry. Committee Chairman Hank Wright has given me the committee's nominees, and they are as followed. Chairman, Jimmy Granbery. Vice Chair, Chris Devaney. Secretary, Greg Davenport. Commissioners, anyone have any comments?
Move the nomination cease.
Anyone else? All right. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Hearing none, the recommendations of the nominating committee are hereby adopted. Thank you. Congratulations, officers. Director Maxedon.
Bittersweet day. All right, today we are also recognizing Chairman Tommy Woods, who is turning over the gavel after a strong year of leadership. Chairman Woods is one of the most solid, steadfast men that I know. He has shown steady and consistent leadership amongst the commission and great support for this agency, which I'm particularly grateful for since it makes all of our jobs easier. During his tenure as chairman, he's overseen votes on our hunting and fishing regulations. He's navigated challenges, issues like Raptor rules and off-highway vehicle use, and he's also supported our legislative efforts. One of the things that I really appreciate about the chairman is how he really thinks through issues. He and I talk pretty much at least a couple of times a week. He accepts many challenges and then he approaches them in a very thoughtful way. That thoughtfulness and vision has made a positive impact on the agency and Tennessee outdoorsmen. He isn't the loudest on the commission or the biggest attention grabber, but if you watch closely, what you'll notice about him is he goes out of his way to lead, to take care of the staff, and to treat everyone he meets with kindness. His wife, Tammy, is also that lady as well. She's the life of the party if you want to get out with the commission or anything behind the scenes. She's a very generous and giving lady. She's very generous to our staff and the commission wives, and we've all really come to value their support and everything they do for our folks. And perhaps most importantly, he's managed to keep this whole commission straight. He has managed to wrangle and keep many of us out of trouble for the year, and that's a truly impressive feat. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your friendship, most of all to me. I thank you for being an exemplary leader. I've learned, and you've been a mentor to me throughout this year. In recognition of your service, we had a plaque that we would like to present you with. If you'll come forward, I'd like to present you with that. Appreciate you. All right. Well, I bet you have a few words to say. I'll present you that and we'll get you.
I do have a few words to say, and thank you, Director. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen and esteemed commissioners, allow me to take a moment to express my gratitude and reflections. Serving as your chair has been a true honor. Each of you is supportive and very diligent in your duties. I consider this whole commission my second family, and I deeply respect each and every one of you. Commissioner Granbery, I extend my heartfelt congratulations on your election to chair. I really do. Your remarkable insight has provided invaluable to both me and this commission. And let's not forget that extra perk of you being my personal Nashville chauffeur. When I arrive, he's there. And that's been a big help. You wouldn't know how big of a help that is. So your considerate and kind nature defines who you are. And I cherish the friendship we share. And thank you for your continued support. I mean, all of that from the bottom of my heart. Commissioner Wright, I greatly appreciate your unwavering and straightforward opinions. Your clarity in expressing your stance on any matter is breathtaking. a breath of fresh air. And in my view, you're batting 1,000. I look forward to the day that we can embark on a hunting trip together, and take that as a hint if you would like. Okay. Director Maxedon, and under your leadership, you've assembled a staff that is truly second to none. The future of our agency and the constituency it serves is very promising. My hope is that this commission, while providing guidance and stakeholder input, continues to remain steadfastly supportive of your vision and direction for this agency. Thank you for your dedication, and above all, thank you for your friendship. Mary and Betsy. Your words of encouragement has meant to me more than you'll ever know. And without your assistance in booking rooms, I'd probably be sleeping in my truck a lot. I really would. But I appreciate you girls more than you'll ever know. Your words of encouragement, I really do. Torrey, I'm delighted that the director brought you on board. I hope your experience with the agency is fulfilling as our appreciation for having you with us. Thank you for your invaluable support through each one of these meetings. I could not have done it without you. That's a fact. To my beautiful wife, Tammy, and my family, you all are my world. Your unwavering support and understanding, especially during those lengthy phone calls through family time, means the world to me. Thank you very much. Commissioner Childress, finally on a lighter note, regarding our fishing trip later today. So I have some great news. Our guide has graciously offered to take Tammy and Tracy to a secluded island for sunbathing and swimming. And for an additional fee, he's proposed an island with no cell phone service. So an option I'll leave to your discretion. Tracy, Wally, your kindness is deeply appreciated and we hold you in high regard. In conclusion, and above all, I express my gratitude for God for bringing this exceptional group of men and women into our lives. May God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for your unwavering support. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn the gavel over to Jimmy. We'll do pictures afterwards, and I'm going to let him say a few words or whatever and close the meeting.
Well, it's a tough act to follow. I'm not going to sing, not going to dance, but Tommy, just real quick, and I'll let the other commissioners chime in. Thank you for your leadership as chair. It's been remarkable. You served this commission with honor, professionalism, and TWRA was lucky to have you. I remember the day when you and me and Hank were in the small conference room in the bottom of the Capitol, had no idea what we were getting into. We didn't know who Jason Maxedon was. We didn't know any of these guys back here. Mike Bell was a senator, but there we were, got our appointments, and boy, we've accomplished a lot together. And I'm really proud of that. I know you are, and I know Hank is, and all the other commissioners. We've just done a lot. It's remarkable to look back on the 5 years, and we got a year to go, that we've accomplished together. We've had 3 different executive directors, and I'm proud to call you a friend, and I'm not just chairman, but a friend, and you've done good, my friend. You've really done good, and we're so proud of you. Now I invite the other commissioners that, starting at this end, just work around. Commissioner Woods, I'll let you, if you want to say a few words. You've been sort of talked about, so maybe you can come back at Tommy and, say what you want to say.
Well, cuz, I appreciate all you've done for us and everything that you have. You just like I said about the other people in the agency, you've made it easy on us. I mean, you've took those late night calls, time you spend with your family, you've been on the phone, and you took a lot of stress off of us as commissioners for handling a lot of stuff for us, and we appreciate it. Thank you, cuz.
Yeah, Tommy, I've just been on a year, and I can tell you I appreciate the way you've led the commission. You've kept us abreast of potential issues, and I can't think of one meeting where something came out that we weren't prepared to act upon. Your commitment to your family is evident, and I think the commission is so much better off because of your leadership. And I'm just committed to serve in any way I can. And I just tell you, the last 12 months, it's just been a blast for me, and I'm honored to know each and every one of you.
Tommy, so kind, always humble. Thank you for your leadership and everything that you did for TWRA. Best fishing partner I've ever had in East Tennessee. Thank you for that trip. I'd love to come back, but congratulations again.
Thank you.
Your passion for the outdoors evident. The only thing I would like to leave you with, the only title better than chairman is former chairman. Congratulations.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, but you play second fiddle to Tammy and to his grandson. And, if you know him very well, you know what I'm talking about. So I commend you for that, Tommy. Will Rogers once said, even if you're on the right track, you get run over if you're sitting still. And I think you've done an outstanding job and have led us to great accomplishments, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, Tommy, honored to serve with you and your brother or cousin. And look, I mean, whether it be somebody else said this, but whether it be your communication skills with the commission and the staff, or just interacting with the staff, your integrity, it's a real example for all of us. So thank you, and I hope you're not a stranger. Come see us at Chattanooga sometime.
Got one more year.
Bill? Me? Well, I like being what everybody else has said. I called Jason and I called Jimmy about 2 months ago, and I said, I feel like I'm out of the loop. I don't hear anything. It's in the commission, there's always something going on and always somebody talking about something. And I called Jason and asked him and send us an email update of what's going on. But the reason that there was nothing going on is because Jason and Tommy were taking care of it. I mean, Jason's doing such a fabulous job, but being chairman is not easy, keeping everybody, talking to everybody, and you did it with respect and humility, and I thought you did a fabulous job. Thank you for being a friend.
I'll just pile on. Thank you for the organization, the structure of the commission and the business. But the thing that stands out to me the most is the team that you and Tammy make. And you set a great example for us. I can't even count the number of times that I looked at Angie and said, I can't believe how much they put into hauling us around and organizing our events and just making it feel like you cared about us, you loved us, and I thank you for that.
I think my words would be, Tommy, I just appreciate your straightforward leadership. And I know in the early years, I always kind of wondered, what's he thinking? and you didn't have a lot to say, but what I learned after a few years is whatever you said, you meant it, and you always landed on your feet. You always landed on the right side of things for sportsmen and women and staff. You always treated everyone with humility and grace and kindness, and it's just a remarkable example of leadership. And so I've learned from you. I've been humbled to be associated with you, and I thank you for your friendship.
Good.
I'm going to say amen to everything y'all said. And Tommy, when you deal with the highest quality person, you get the highest quality results. That's all I can say. And since our wives are sisters, now I'm his brother-in-law. So we're family. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Congratulations to Chris and Greg for their nominations, and look forward to working with you next year. We'll have, we got a wonderful, Tommy referenced Mary and Betsy. It's a job to put this year together. We got a great year planned for 23, 24, 25. We'll have that calendar out. You've got the dates. We'll have the exact locations and the events out soon after this meeting, maybe early next week, committee assignments, and we look forward to continuing the excellence of this agency and this commission. And I appreciate every one of you and look forward to leading you in the next year as your chairman. And I will now entertain a motion for adjournment. Do I have a second? Second. Meeting adjourned.